Welcome to Scouting for Growth. I'm your host, Sabine VdL, and today we are thrilled to have a true pioneer in remote work and business scaling with us. Our guest is Barbara Maheshwari, CEO and co-founder of Remote Bob, that she set up in 2019, just before COVID-19, a game-changing virtual assistant hub that is redefining how entrepreneurs and businesses operate in our increasingly fast-moving digital world. Barbara is not just a successful founder. She's a go-to-market consultant, a sought-after speaker, and a startup scout for ABC Accelerator. I met Barbara just before COVID-19, actually, when she realized that there would be a massive change in the way we work and recruit support. She set up Remote Bob to enable startups and scale-ups with the staff augmentation they need to get everyday tasks done better and faster. With a finger on the pulse of the future of work, Barbara has helped countless businesses navigate the complexities of remote staff augmentation and achieve remarkable growth. Today, we will be diving deep into Barbara's expertise and excellent team and how she approached growth, exploring the trends shaping the future of work, and also uncovering valuable insights for scale-up ventures. Barbara, it's a pleasure to have you on Scouting for Growth. So welcome to the show. Hi, Barbara. Thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth today.
Hi, Sabine. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to be here.
So tell us a little bit about you, your background, where you live. I think it's interesting as well for people to know where you live. And then let's get into what got you to set up Remote Bob. I think in 2019, right? It is when we got to connect just before COVID-19. So I think that background is super important because you saw a trend which is booming right now.
Yes, exactly. So I was working in consulting, mainly helping startups with their launch strategy or just to figure out how to increase their profit or increase their revenue. And while I was working closely with founders, I saw that almost every one of them needed a really good virtual assistant. So it was definitely something in high demand. However, most of them were complaining that their virtual assistant is not good. So I was thinking like this is something that is in really high demand, and obviously existing solutions on the market are not good. So that inspired me to start a virtual assistant agency, Remote Bob. Other than that, I'm also organizing startup pitching events for Founders Live for Croatia. And I'm also doing a bit of consulting, speaking gigs, and some mentoring, mainly like how to manage remote team or how to get a remote job. Kind of remote workforce is my expertise. And where do I live? I still didn't figure out that part. So basically, we are living like 3 months per year in London, 3 months in Dubai, 3 months in Croatia, and 3 months in India. Like I would like us to live in London or in Croatia, and my husband would like us to live in Dubai or in India. So every few months we are kind of changing our mind.
I love it. You are part of, I guess, the gig workers in some ways, right? Or digital nomad. And, before going into our conversation, I went just to check some of the numbers. There's around 350 million already gig worker around the globe. It's not small, right? And the rate of growth is 171% year on year. So this is a massive market, gig workers, remote workers. And then the digital nomad represent around from the number 50 million worker globally. And I think there is always overlap, right? Not everybody can afford to be a digital nomad because of family and children. But those with no children, at least, probably younger, can actually hop from places and places and do their job from their laptop. And, it's interesting because when you talk to the older generation, they can't understand that you can actually work just from a laptop, not being in an office. Like, how can that actually work? That you don't need to be in an office space and have a desk to actually get the job done. So a big change in the way we work. But so when you look at Remote Bob, how has a company's vision changed since its inception? I'm sure your strategy has evolved since 2019.
Yes, exactly. So when we first started like delivering our services, first my aim was to grow as quickly as possible and to have as many VAs as possible in the shortest time span. So initially we were offering like different services, like our virtual assistants were doing some web design, they were doing like pay-per-click Facebook ads, they were doing like various admin tasks. So with time, we realized that instead of focusing on a really fast growth and on offering like a variety of services, it's much wiser for us to kind of limit our services on what we do the best. So we became specialized in admin, and we are also doing some content, but our virtual assistants are no longer offering services of like Google ads or Facebook ads. We just think like that is completely separate like department, and we want to do only things that we are the best at. So we kind of chose our niche, being like admin and also content, and we are sticking to it. Other than that, we realized that instead of having like 100 virtual assistants, it's better to have like 40, but then make sure that they are with us full time, that they are getting like regular mentorship or feedback, and that they have a lot of opportunities for growth, so that they are very, very motivated and engaged. So we kind of chose niche, and also we focused on quality over quantity.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's such an important point you're making around quality over quantity and really nailing that niche, as you were saying, which you do as well with the scale-up, the startup you're working with. You cannot be one person to every problems which exist out there, and being able to be really specific in solving a variety of problems and actually letting others who are expert, for example, you said around Google ad or social media. It's a complex market because you have to really understand the algorithm on LinkedIn, understand the algorithm on Twitter, now Instagram, and all those channels are different. And actually, when I talk to experts who are actually just focusing on one single channel, all the things they need to think about is absolutely incredible. So how do you see the role of virtual assistants changing as artificial intelligence and automation increases over
Yeah,
time?
let's say ever since ChatGPT was launched, we are getting significantly less inquiries for blog writing. That is something that really suddenly changed. Um, However, long term, I don't see AI to be kind of competition to virtual assistants. I see it more as being a tool for virtual assistants that will help them to be more productive. So, for example, before, for creating one newsletter, assistant needed like 2 hours. Right now, they can get it done in 40 minutes because they can use ChatGPT. However, I think it's really important to do it wisely. So, not like delegate your whole work to AI and expect that everything will be done for you, because we can tell that it was done by AI. We need to be wise how to use it to save our time, but still keep like being authentic and original, and like deliver tasks like human beings. So I see AI as something that will definitely help us in the future to deliver better results to our clients and to be more efficient. It will allow us like to deliver more work in the same amount of working hours.
You're absolutely right. I mean, when you think about ChatGPT and all the tools which have come out, right, from picture making, video making, text writing, at the end, you need a human in the loop because you can see it's ChatGPT written. What I think, which is powerful with those tools, and as you know, in our team, we are enabling and empowering our team with Gemini, with Copilot, with ChatGPT, OpenAI, Perplexity, because we want to try them. We want to understand how the different models are working, but also we actually understand that if we empower our teams with those tools, they actually have their own assistant enabling the executive to do their job better. So it's a bit like a pyramid. So the virtual assistant for the assistant enable the assistant, as you said, to be more productive, augment their work, but you need that human in the loop, right? You need to create that authenticity, that personalization to actually help them not to have to create things from scratch. For example, I am in insurance, I need insurance expert. That means that my VAs do not need to be insurance experts, but they need to actually know how to ask questions so that they actually augment the work of the team. So absolutely right. Let's not forget those are tools and they are not going to really replace if we are going to build growth business, personalization business, and really answer our customer needs. They are not going to replace the human.
Exactly. I mean, I do agree that with some specific tasks, like let's say blog writing or calling a salon to get AI will be able to do like 80% of the task. But still, like we will pivot, we will adjust our strategies, and we will make sure that on top of that, real virtual assistant, like real human, can bring even more value to the client.
Yeah. So what are the key challenges do you see scale-ups, right, ventures you're working with facing when they think about remote staffing, augmenting their teams? And why do they come to Remote Bob? I know you mentioned admin, but there is a first call, right? There is a first reason when they say, I need to come to remote.
Yeah. So people come to us to solve two problems. First problem is they need more free time. So they are too busy, they feel overwhelmed, they want to free up their personal time, they want to delegate repetitive tasks, and they want to create more time for themselves to do things that are important, not only urgent, things that are strategically important for them, and leave like operational tasks to someone else. Second reason is they want to become more organized. So we have like many exceptional, brilliant entrepreneurs that already created so many successful companies, and they are struggling with like being on top of their emails, with not missing or double booking meetings. So they really need one person like to be on top of them to manage their schedule daily. So those are kind of two main challenges that people are coming to us asking for us to support them to overcome those. But what kind of key challenges are scale-ups facing? I think it depends on a case-by-case basis. Some of them are struggling with tools. Let's say some scale-ups really had like a old-fashioned conservative way of running their business. They literally had a billboard in their office. So when we are now telling them like, are you using Notion or Asana or Monday or ClickUp, they don't even know like what are those tools. I was very surprised like how some tools that are really basic for us that we thought like everyone is using, for many successful entrepreneurs that is something new. So we are always helping them with like setting up their tasks in project management tools, setting up a time tracking tool, maybe starting to use Slack or Discord. I think when they realize that it's very beneficial for them to start hiring remote, because then they will get access to huge talent pool. Then they also need to adjust some tools that they are using on a weekly basis. Other than that, when people are hiring remote teams for the first time, they are often very insecure about meetings. Like, do they want to have like 2 hours of meetings per day to feel safe and to know that this person is working today? Or do they want to make sure that they are actually not taking away a lot of working hours from that person, just like sitting on a meeting? So we always recommend them to have daily stand-ups that are like 5 to 10 minutes, then to have team weekly meeting, then to have once a year all hands on deck, and quarterly retrospective meetings. So we believe that if we are following this schedule of meetings, then it's like enough to have everything under control and to keep the team engaged. And other than that, it's like not suffocating their schedule. I think many scale-ups are also in general struggling with creating processes and procedures for scaling. And I think when we are doing it remotely, like creating online checklists that can be easily assigned to someone, or creating onboarding instructions in Loom, where people can watch it like 10 times if needed, it's very helpful for those businesses.
Yeah, I mean, you have already mentioned some amazing tools we are self-using, right? Baseline, we are on Google. So Google, you have access, therefore, to Gemini if you have your license, and you have good planning capabilities. On top, for sure, Monday. Then we communicate only through Slack. And I think it just forces people to also understand that the way we use it as well is cybersecurity. We do not communicate on WhatsApp, we're just communicating on, for example, on Slack. And so every so often you have people trying to get into the organization, with a cyber hack. And we have, really strong system to prevent that. But then you also have to look at the behavior of the organization, right? So to say, well, this is not going to be the way Sabine would actually communicate with me. And then, as I mentioned, we use a little bit of generative AI to augment people's work. For pictures, for example, I love Leonardo.ai. So once upon a time, I used to buy a lot of pictures, Getty pictures. Now we create our own. And then, as you highlighted, OpenAI to actually ask questions and to actually augment the work, but always a human in the loop. Things are rewritten. We want every piece of content to be personalized. So just really starting building this means you create more time for yourself to focus on growth, on scaling. And as you were mentioning, actually, scale-ups often struggling to set up clear processes. A good book I read, actually, Barbara, is called Predictable Success. And so I would recommend any startup, scale-up, listening to our conversation to download by Predictable Success, because that helps understand the nitty-gritty of how you build replicable processes and businesses, which include people, which include good strategy first, people, structure, and good processes. Would you have, Barbara, a good success story to share with us around a client who have done super well?
Yeah. Actually, like when it's about clients' feedback, we have almost 140 five-star reviews on Trustpilot. So that really, really motivates me and reassures me that what we are doing is really valuable for entrepreneurs. Let's say one of my favorite success stories is Travel Fox startup. So Travel Fox is an agency for managing accommodation for short-term stay. So they are talking to property investors. When property investor buys a new property, they can give it to TravelFox for them to manage listing and to manage check-ins. So when they started, they had only 14 properties. And founder Sam, he was doing everything on his own. So he didn't had so much time to talk to more property investors to source more properties. And that is what he needs to do for his company to grow. Most of his time was used for like coordinating check-ins, reminding people where is the key, or maybe calling cleaning stuff, or coordinating handymans. So even though Sam is like really, really brilliant and he's like very resourceful, I think most of his time was utilized doing these basic tasks. So they came to us. They asked us to provide first like one part-time virtual assistant. Then our VA kind of took over that operational part. So now our VA is talking to guests, coordinating check-ins, coordinating checkouts, sending them instructions, sending cleaning ladies, calling handymans whenever there is some maintenance problem. And that actually allowed Sam to focus more on sourcing additional properties. So when we started working together, Sam told me that right now they have 14 properties, and it's his goal in 1 year to reach 40. That was like the goal that he was aiming. Now they are working with us for 5 months, and they currently have 41 property. So I think like the growth that they were hoping to get in 1 year, they managed to achieve it in 5 months. And I think our virtual assistants played a significant role in freeing up Sam's time. And in the meantime, they decided to onboard one more virtual assistant. So now they have two VAs. So let's say that's example how like freeing up founders' time really made a big impact for a company's progress.
Yeah, no, that is a superb story to actually start understanding that if you have the right people in the right place, augmenting your work, you should then focus on the growth of the business and drive the efficiencies through people and as you were saying earlier, through technology. How does your team align to your company's culture and goal? Because, often when you don't have people internally, like your internal team, you can actually force your internal team to actually align to culture and goals. You actually recruit people based on those cultural and goal objectives. How do you make sure that happens as well with your clients?
Yes. So let's say for last 4 years, the only thing that we are doing is recruitment of virtual assistants. So we really managed to create like flawless recruitment process that allows us to like shortlist only the best virtual assistants that have skills, personality, and values that we are sharing. So we are really, really picky regarding people that we decide to onboard to Remote Bob. Then we also designed our training program. So right now we have education, how to become a great virtual assistant. It's like 1 month online live training course that people can purchase. And so far we had over 150 sold trainings. We are also available on Udemy. So I think during this 1 month, people can really get to know us, see, do they resonate with what we are doing? Can they relate to it? So let's say in our recruitment process, we have first like shortlisting suppliers, shortlisting CVs, then sending a questionnaire, then doing first round of interview, then asking them to do some test task, then second round of interview, then offer, contract, and then it's onboarding. And in onboarding, we have 3 parts of onboarding, which is kind of presentation, introduction, getting to know your body in the company, making sure that you really feel welcome. And I think like when we show people that they are getting the support and that we are really like trustworthy and we care about them, then they are always giving us that same values back. So I think right now the culture that we created is really like supportive, and even though it's completely remote, I think everyone is always like ready to help. So because of these like onboarding stages, everyone really gets to know us and gets to go through the whole process of understanding our values, of understanding what do we expect from them and how do we want to treat our clients, and also what are we able to offer them, so what can they expect from us. So I think it's about onboarding process and ongoing quality assurance. So we have like at least once a week short check-in to make sure that everything is okay and that there is space to share if they are facing any challenges or they need support.
Yeah, no, that's super cool because, I mean, people are crucial to grow businesses, culture shape a business, and, being actually very transparent around what the business culturally want to achieve, right? I love talking about having an ownership mindset, accountability mindset. The team knows that we are a small team, but we can do a lot and we can actually deliver massively because we are in tech anyway. So we need to use the technology where we come out on customers as well to actually demonstrate that we know what we talk about. But that accountability, ownership mindset, which is an entrepreneurial mindset, is a very important part of our culture, but also integrity and transparency is critical as well. So
For us, like big part of our culture is taking initiative. Like we are teaching VAs that whenever someone is hiring a VA, they don't need another person to manage. So our virtual assistants should not just sit and wait for a client to assign tasks. Like they should understand their business goals and proactively help them to accomplish them. So that means like taking initiative, chasing, reminding, offering to do something instead of client if there is some roadblock that we can help him to overcome. So I think in our case, whatever you mentioned, like ownership of responsibility, being accountable, responsible, doing things fast, being transparent, and also definitely taking initiative.
it's critical. And we are seeing this with our own VAs that you're actually supporting us with as well. So how has the pandemic shifted the perception of remote working from your view, Barbara? I remember that, we were working in a world where I guess we had a lot of employees. Then we had a phase where we had the big, I would say depression, I was thinking, but people literally leaving their job to actually find the right work-life harmony. Now we are trying to find the right balance. I already mentioned the numbers around gig working, right? 350 million people are considered gig worker globally, and another 50 million as digital nomads. How has, the past 3 years changed the way we do things?
Yeah, like before pandemic, it was very unusual to work remotely full time. Many employers were not open for that at all. Like when we were offering someone to hire a virtual assistant, people would often laugh. They would say, like, how do you mean that I am supposed to pay someone and they will stay at home? They won't even like show up in the office. Like, are you serious? That's impossible. That's crazy. And then after pandemic, everyone saw that it is possible and it is actually productive, because then people are not spending 2 hours per day to travel to office. So they are also happier, they have more energy. And then also you are not limited only to people that are living 10 kilometers around office. You can hire people from anywhere. So you have more options when you are recruiting someone. So I think mindset of many business owners changed, and something that was completely unacceptable for them before is now becoming possible and normal. And I think after a pandemic, like part of employers, they were kind of hoping that things will go back to normal, but I think people are enjoying remote work so much. So now we often get CVs from people that are telling us, I will accept like 50% lower salary if I can work remotely. So I think the employers that are not so open to remote work, or they will need to make peace with settling down for a lower number of applicants for their job, or they will need to become more flexible and allow remote work at least like partially. So things definitely changed. Workers are definitely insisting more on working remotely. That is becoming a new standard. It's not anymore exception or luxury. It's something that people are really, really asking for, and something that they are seeking in their next role.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's all about mindset. And then as you actually work with your team, you have to set up the right boundaries and the right trust trust and accountability. So, coming from a consulting background, right, PwC, IBM, we had the 3, 4, 5 rules where we would be actually working for a client for 5 days. We will be at the client for 4 days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We'll be working for the client on Friday, and we are going to have technically 3 days at home, which will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So imagine 30 years ago, I was really already starting actually remote working. Then I want to move into a major strategic role where you have to read massive amount of data, like 1,000-page reports, books, and all those things to actually find strategic directions. I ended up doing a lot of remote working. So imagine probably 15 years ago, I was already working probably 2 days a week in an office, and the rest from my home, because I had to have the space and the peace of mind to be able to process all this information, to come with conclusions and go to the CEO and said, I think we need to do that. Then, when I started building acceleration program, I was in the office every day, but I didn't start at 9, right? I would start at 10. I would be finishing probably, when you are in an accelerator, you don't leave the office before 10 p.m. You're at home at midnight. So we would do 10 to 10, but it was every day. When we were in acceleration time, there was no way we would work from home. And then, when we would go July, August, you would probably find a few days where you could actually be remote working. So when COVID happened and we were back to remote working, I said, oh, okay, well, I'm going back to my 15 years ago. And it was interesting to see the different responses in my industry, which is insurance, where claims people have to be in the office to be on the system. Underwriters need to be in an office to be on the system. But you had the top Fortune 500 insurers who already had thought about remote working and already had 30% of their people remote workers. Then that moved to 60%. I know some of my clients, 60% of their employees are remote working, but they set them up in their homes with the right computers, with the right technology, the right cybersecurity, and all those things to allow that work-life balance. But to be able to do that, you have to have a trust culture and very outcome-driven culture. People are measured on not into the input, but they're on the output. So then if you change the mindset, then you can actually make this work.
Yeah,
So,
let's say one of our clients, they actually still have software development company, and before a pandemic, they were all working from the office. After pandemic, they completely shifted to work from home. And what changed for them? So I think loyalty of their employees increased. People are happier because of flexibility they are having, and they enjoy more working from home. So they will not be seeking for other jobs. And also they have a huge savings from not having to rent office for 30 developers. So I think they saved a lot, and even from financial perspective, it's great. And I believe that productivity changed as well, because when you are in the office, you spend at least 1 hour hanging out with your colleagues, going to that longer lunch break. And when you are working from home, you are online, and it's you and screen, and that's it.
Yeah. But I think also what you are saying is true, and I've seen a lot of companies do that. And also I've seen a lot of fintech, by removing the office space, what they have done is instituted, as you said, the quarterly meetup, where you meet in a really nice place where lunch is being paid for, where everybody meets together. We try to do this, we don't do it during the summer holiday, but in January and September when we come back, or in January when we come back, we try to actually meet in an office at least once every 2 weeks, because you still have a little bit of travel to do usually for clients, but we actually make sure we have a day where we are together, where lunch is paid, where we're actually working together. And people are really treated very nicely in a very nice place, so that they have that bonding still taking place. So next question is, what do you think are the skills required in the world of remote working today to actually adapt our business to the current business environment?
Yes. Well, for virtual assistants specifically, I think it's really, really important that they're organized, resourceful, proactive, and taking initiative.
Yes.
So that is the most important. And other than that, being able to communicate. We had many situations where someone would do a lot of work, but then they wouldn't communicate well to exactly did they do. So a client would be concerned. So I think it's like 70% doing work and 30% reporting and making sure that client is aware of everything that you did. But definitely out of these skills, I think taking initiative is the most important. Everyone is seeking for a VA that will be able to lead him, someone who will be like one step ahead. If you watched that TV show Suits, like I think Donna from Suits, that's kind
Yeah.
of what we are aiming at.
It is
Someone to
true.
be
I
one
mean, it's a
step
nice
ahead.
picture. Yes, I just had a picture of the seed program, but you're actually absolutely right. It's finding the right work-life balance, but also, making sure that we always adapt to where the market is going and actually part of the change which is surrounding us. So how do you approach training, right? We touched upon training earlier, but I think it's important to explain that your approach at Remote Bob is your team is very well trained, is very skilled. You are going to get a virtual assistant which knows how to use an Asana, a Monday, going into Outlook or being able to use Google, right? You have actually implementing training and development to the highest level. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So when I decided to start a virtual assistant agency, first thing I did, I made a list of top 20 most frequently delegated tasks. And that can be like LinkedIn outreach to potential clients, shortlisting suppliers, research, finding speaking gigs for founder, writing SEO optimized blogs. So when we are recruiting virtual assistants, we are giving them questionnaire. If in this questionnaire they are already above 85%, then we can directly hire them and offer them role. If they are on our scale lower than 85%, then we would recommend them to sign up for our training process, which is 1 month long training where we are going through like short lessons and a lot of practical assignments, so that after that training they will already have like practical knowledge how to achieve these results. So for example, with our experience so far, if during training virtual assistant is learning how to send invoices, how to communicate with accounting, or for example how to do LinkedIn outreach, after they go through lessons, then we give them like 1 week of assignments, so they will actually have practical experience from doing this work. And I think based on our experience so far, we can already communicate to clients what would be the average time frame or what would be the average result they can expect. Many times I get someone who asks me like, can I get VA to seek for speaking gigs for me for 5 working hours? And I often say, in theory, you can, but I wouldn't recommend it because I know that it takes at least like 15 to 20 working hours on seeking for speaking gigs to get tangible results. So if you invest 15 to 20 working hours on finding speaking gigs, you will probably have 2 to 3 booked calls with podcast owner or with conference organizer who is interested in hiring you as a speaker. But if you invest only 5 working hours in seeking for speaking gigs, it's 90% chances that you will not get any speaking gigs. So it's better to invest more working hours, but with like more probability of getting results. So I think for every task so far, we have a lot of training materials, we have a lot of templates, we have a lot of guidelines, we have a lot of examples, and we can already project like what to expect. Let's say if a client is asking us, so I'm hiring VA for 80 working hours, how many blogs can VA deliver for that? Then we would ask client like, does he need blog to be more like research report or something very like warm and friendly? Does it need to be SEO optimized? Does he expect one blog to be 500 words or 1,500 words? Is he open to using ChatGPT to help with some parts of the content? Does he want us to prepare everything from the scratch? And based on all the inputs, we would be able to give the exact estimate. So in X amount of working hours, how many blogs would you receive and in which time frame? I think that is really valuable, that you don't need to hire a VA and then feel that uncertainty of not knowing what will be the output of those working hours. Like in initial consulting call, we can already tell them what is exactly that they can expect after 1 month or after 3 months of work.
Yeah. I mean, as you know, being clear around setting boundaries and also being clear what is going to be done is very important. And actually training and development is critical to actually create that alignment. What I've also said to my team is, look at your calendar as a place where you can actually create some repetition and actually start building a framework so that you actually protect your time to get the job done, and then also make sure you have time to actually meet and interact with other people. So if you look at my calendar, it's pretty much clear what I'm doing every day. And then there's space for calls and there's a space for doing other things. And so I always explain to the team is, there are things which we have to do every week, just schedule it. And often I do tend to send them, even though it's a task for myself, and I want them to have the visibility of this is going to be done, I will put them as well into their calendar. So then they can trigger that behavior of planning for things and actually have an idea of how long tasks take so that you can actually build that work-life harmony that everybody seeks out there.
And we also have like a part of our system that is called knowledge sharing, and there are like over 50 short educations that are free for every virtual assistant that is currently onboarded in Remote Bob. And on top of it, VAs are encouraged to share tips with each other. So for example, if one of them figures out how to achieve something extra for client and they share it in that knowledge sharing section, they would receive additional bonus. So we are really encouraging people like to support each other and to share their knowledge and to make sure that we are all growing together. Also, like if a VA is facing some new tool or new challenge, we are always guiding them to first talk to us internally so they can talk to project manager, to mentor, to our community of other VAs, and then go to client with some solutions. So our aim is that Remote Bob virtual assistants will never approach client with the sentence, I have a problem. It will always be like, I had some challenge and these are 3 solutions. What do you think about it? So we always want to go to our clients with solutions. And we understand that whenever something new is happening, sometimes virtual assistant won't have solution right away. But that's why we are offering resources and support of our mentors and VA community that allows them to find solution every time.
That's superb. I love it. So what would be the advice you would give to the entrepreneurs who are out there who are still hesitant about delegating tasks to remote staff, staff augmentation agencies or Remote Bob?
Yeah, I think many people are really kind of eager to have everything under control. And if they see a person sitting in the office, they think that it is under control, that then like they are supervising that person. But even if someone is sitting in the office, they can still spend 8 hours just like looking through the window or scrolling news. Like even if someone is sitting in the office next to you, that's still not a guarantee that they will be productive. And if you have remote employees, someone who is working from home, in the end of the day, they can't say, well, I was sitting next to you, I was at work, you saw me. They need to be able to show what did they produce that day. So I think actually people that are working from home are under even a bigger pressure to justify their working hours. So if you have someone working in the office, you can't ask him like, what did you do today? Like, were you at work? Like you saw him, he was sitting there. But if someone is working from home, they need to be able to show in the end of the day what is it that they actually produced that day. So I think that a sense of control is it's even easier to track their work when they are working remotely.
100%. I mean, I think, as you said earlier, it's good training, it's good values and beliefs around how work is done. It's really focusing on your clients as well, creating that transparency and trust. So then actually the outcome is done. And you've already showed us how that is done with one of the examples. if you have good remote assistant supporting you with the right skills, your business should grow. If people want to find out a little bit more about you, Barbara, where should they go?
They can go to our website, Remote Bob, and book a free consultation call.
Wonderful. And where are you going to go next? Where should we find you? What is going to be the next stop?
Next week, I'm going to Spain. But I think in the winter, we'll probably launch Remote Bob to Dubai. So that will
I
be
can't
very
wait. So I will
exciting.
come and see you there because I was saying to my husband, I need to spend a bit more time in Dubai. And actually, I was talking about you. I said, my friend Barbara, she spent a lot of time in Dubai in winter. I think I need to do the same. Work-life harmony means a bit more sun in my life in the winter rather than bearing the winter cold of London.
Yes, I'm counting on that. So please do come and visit.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for joining me on Scouting for Growth today, Barbara.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Scouting for Growth. Please subscribe, share with friends, and leave a 5-star rating. Your rating is so valuable. I review all of them, and my team help me adapt content to meet your needs. Also, connect with me on my preferred channels. I am a B2B growth expert, so you will find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Threads, and X as well as Blue Sky. All information available below. Until next, keep scouting for growth.